Okay, y'all, I clearly don't know what I'm gonna do with this channel. And I'm gonna just let that go. I don't know. I'm gonna talk about my finances because it's crazy. I said, actually, clearly I like this sweater because whenever I wear this sweater, I must feel inspired to record. Anyway, I said it in another video that I'm gonna drop that I talked about like my finances went really south. And they went south last month because of my irresponsibility with tracking and spending. I was just taking Ubers up the wazoo because I needed to get places and I was always running late. Okay, great. So stay tuned. We'll talk about that later. I don't know. Today, I want to talk to y'all about these tariffs. So Trump had Liberation Day 2 days ago. I just think that's hilarious. And the reason I think it's hilarious that he called it Liberation Day is because I've been entertaining this idea for a couple of days now that America is low-key a slave society. And you can call me crazy, but I actually think America is a slave society. And I don't say that lightly, and I don't say it like in like a racial sense. I just genuinely think like this is like we are hired hitmen and slaves. And I think that that is something that the whole world should explore as a possibility. At least as Americans, we should explore it as a possibility. Why? I was just thinking back to history, and like I said, it's a possibility. I could be wrong. But I was just thinking about some of the stuff that America goes through or has gone through, decisions that we've made as a country, the way that we are right now economically. And I'm thinking, I'm like, we're slaves. Like, what is going on? Okay, why am I saying that? So there's a video, everyone should watch it. It's by Morning Brew, and it's on it should be on Morning Brew's YouTube, where they explain tariffs. Now, I study international politics and philosophy. I'm not opposed to tariffs. I am not opposed to just charging people taxes because y'all want to cut up. Like, that's one of the reasons why people have imposed tariffs, is to make doing business harder so that the pressure is put on the country to act right. It is. That's one way. That's one method of getting what you want out of foreign policy. That's not what's happening right now. That's actually not what's happening, and that's what could be happening. Liberation Day, to the best of my knowledge, correct me if I'm wrong, was Trump saying, I just saw a video actually about this, where he was like, he said this in the 80s. He was like, our trade agreements suck. Basically, like, we suck. Like, we just let everybody just mow over us. Anybody can sell to our people, and we can't sell to really anybody. And the thing is we've always believed this because we don't have nothing, but I don't think that that's true. I don't think that our products suck. And if you watch that video by Morning Brew, I will link it in my video. I'll link it in the notes below. It's actually not true. I think we've been deluded into believing that America doesn't produce anything of value, but that's not true. We produce things of value. Other people buy our technology, and then we don't produce it anymore. We just buy it from them. And honestly, the same thing happens to African countries too. They got all the resources in the world. All these other countries come up in there and take the resources, manufacture them at home, and then try to sell them back to Africa. Like, this is a habit of countries that don't have much. America has stuff. And we, as Americans, are deluded into thinking we ain't got nothing. We got stuff. Like, I don't know what these other Western countries got. We got stuff. Sorry. And like, we have human capital. We have people who are talented and gifted beyond measure. And then we also have like real resources, like natural resources here. I'm very confused. Anyway, that's besides the point. Our human capital has created so much genius and ingenuity in technology, in art, in media. And for some reason, we don't make as much money off of it as other people do. But we're still one of the wealthiest countries. Okay, got it. However, other countries can taproot into our wealth, but we don't do it the same way back. That's what the Liberation Day was about. Trump, like I said, I watched this video, and he's been saying this since like 1980. And I was like, bro, you, this has bothered you. You upset. Like, bro, you are upset. You have been upset about this for a while. Okay. But anyway, and what I said to say, story time really quick. I went to Antigua. Back in end of November, early December. And so when I went, my uncle, he was just talking about how much it costs to ship stuff. And I was like, why is this so expensive to ship stuff here? This is so weird. He paid $10,000 just to get his car there. And to me, that just sounded crazy. I was like, 10 grand? I don't know why, that just sounded ridiculous in my brain. I have a friend, she's going to school in St. Kitts, and she was like, shipping is crazy here. And I'm like, why? And I realized, I was like, our policies when it comes to shipping overseas are different. Like, they're just, like, fundamentally, they're different. And that never, I'm not gonna lie to you, like, I've heard of tariffs. I understand tariffs. I never understood the fact that the United States does not put as many or as high of tariffs on other countries is the reason why, like, get it on Amazon, like, get it from Shein. Like, we order the way that we order, we consume the way we consume because other countries know that they can sell to us. We are a massive consumer population, and that's not by accident. It's because we don't charge people a lot to sell to our population. Other people charge us to sell to their populations, though. And that's what tariffs is about. It's weird. People are like, how do we get into this debt to China? Because China will charge us to go sell to their people. We don't charge China to sell to our people. We do. We just don't charge them as much. And so it's more profitable and lucrative for them to sell to us than it is for us to sell to them. And other countries do the same thing to us. They are putting barriers to guard their population of consumers. And the thing is, that barrier is not a bad thing. I'm not judging countries that want to put barriers to protect their local business. That makes sense. There are, like, think about it this way. I recognize that there are people in my city, my town, my state who have gifts, talents, and skills, and I don't want a bunch of foreigners coming in and being the ones who get access to that market. I want my people who live here to have a fair shot, right? So it's like, okay, if you want to send your money outside, I'm not going to stop you from doing that, but I'm going to make it a little bit more difficult to protect the interests of those who are here so that they have a good shot, right? That's all that is. That's what a tax does. It's incentivizing keeping the money local so that it spreads. There's something called the money multiplier effect, where how many times does the money cycle through the people who are here, right? If it keeps cycling out, then basically I'm funding someone else's country, or I'm funding someone else. Like, why am I funding someone else when I can pay my neighbor, who's going to pay my other neighbor, who's going to pay my other neighbor, who's going to pay my other neighbor, who's eventually going to pay me again? The money just cycled through the neighborhood again. I hope that makes sense to somebody. And so anyway, he called it Liberation Day, which I think is funny, because I think we're like low-key a slave society. Because if everybody can milk us for money, the milking for money is really sick, y'all. Like, if you really start to think about it, like, take your feelings out of it and start to think about it. The milking for money is weird. It's very, very weird. And I say that because the United States is one of the biggest contributors to the UN financially. The United States is one of the biggest contributors to the IMF financially. The United States is one of the biggest contributors to the CDC financially. The United States is one of the biggest contributors to the WHO financially. The United States is we financially fund so much stuff. We fund other people's militaries. Japan doesn't even have a military, because they got our military. Respectfully, that's for a different reason historically. Like, there's other context behind that. I'm not coming for Japan. But I just want us to think about that. Like, we fund so much on, like, just upfront. We're funding stuff. We're funding organizations and international entities, and then we don't tax people to come sell to our people? We don't tax people equitably? Since we want to talk about equity, we're not taxing people equitably? Come on, something's weird here. I feel like we're being punked. We are being punked. We gotta be punked. Like, that sounds crazy. That literally sounds crazy. So anybody could sell to us and get the money out of our people's pockets. And then on top of that, we tax our people. So we're all being taxed crazy and then being diluted into this conversation where it's like, tax the rich. Bro, stop. No, like, yes, but no, that's not the point. Why is, like, where's the money going? We're funding people to be at war and to commit genocide on an international scale for things that we're funding, basically proxy wars. And then we're actually funding international organizations. And then we're not even collecting tax when businesses, everyone wants to talk about tax the billionaires, tax the businesses, We're not even collecting taxes when people want to do business outside into here. But then if we look through history, we recognize the fact that when businesses left here, look at the history of Flint, Michigan. Flint used to be a place of manufacturing and enterprise. And then I forgot the country. It was a car manufacturing company. Can't remember the name of it. They left. They took their business overseas. And that led to the economic decline of Flint, Michigan that we know it to be today. And for some reason, people are sitting here mad about tariffs. The whole point of the tariffs was to force people to do business here and to protect jobs that are here. Like, I'm sorry. We have to realize, like, somewhere along the way, we got punked. We got punked. Because why are we funding everything and bringing in not enough? Where is the return? Because if you ask me, okay, there's a return. Is the world safer? Keep it real. Is the world safer? We're funding everybody to do whatever they need to do. Is the world safer? This is a conversation that I had when I was studying international politics, was why is the U.S. playing like they're Superman or they're everybody's police? They're the international police force on their own. That was never our job. No, absolutely not. That's crazy. That's literally crazy. Because the quality of life in America is being fractured and strangled out of its people, and its people do not know enough about American history. And that's not to say I'm perfect and I know everything that needs to be known about American history, but I know that something's off. And I'm encouraged that, like, more Americans are looking at, like, what the heck are you doing, dude? Because now we're looking into history and really starting to say, no, for real, like, wait, how did we end up here? How did we end up here where we're arguing with our government to go fund wars overseas, but then also arguing with our government about why aren't they taxing the rich? Like, wait, hold on. Before we get into tax the rich, let's get into why are our tax dollars even being spent on doing that or this or that and not this and not that. Like I watched a video earlier today and then people are talking about budget cuts, or it was something from one of the representatives from Massachusetts, and about budget cuts. Like, was she right? Quite possibly. She was quite possibly right, and not gonna judge her for it. But for me, it always comes down to, okay, like, people are paying taxes in America. Why is no one asking really what do our tax dollars go to, especially when it comes to foreign policy? Especially when it comes to foreign policy. Because I feel like there's this tug of war, like we're not giving enough to internal support, which that's a video for another time. We're not giving enough to internal support, but nobody's addressing the fact that we're giving way too much. I personally think we're giving way too much to external support. That is not, like, I think we really have to ask, like, what is the return on all this external support that we're providing? What is the real return? And it's not monetary return. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not talking about monetary return. I'm really asking the question, is the world safer? Is the world safer? Are these countries better for the way that we've handled these issues? Especially when it comes to money. And I think when we ask ourselves, is it actually making those countries better? Is the way that we're funding things making them better, actually helping them to grow? If the answer to that is quite possibly no, because we're not new to this. We've been doing this for years. And everything has a lag time. When you're funding projects, it has a lag time. So nothing's going to happen overnight. But we have to ask, like, when we're putting money into these projects, we're putting money into these organizations to do this work, is it actually making anything better? Is it? For real? Like, and then money is earmarked for stuff. That's the worst part. It's earmarked to do certain things. Is it actually helpful? Is it actually useful? I don't know, guys. I'm just saying. I have so many thoughts about politics, and I have so many questions. So many questions, because a lot of the stuff that we do, the stuff that people cry about in the media, or the points that people make in the media, I'm just like, somebody's lying. Somebody's lying. There's a half truth. We're not thinking this thing all the way through. I know that there's some part of this is nonsense, and I don't have all the answers because I'm not a genius. I've only been on this earth for 27 years. I haven't been here that long. I don't know every point in history of anything that happened. I don't know the stuff in history that hasn't been reported. But I do know, like, something's just not right. Like, for real, something's not right. And I think that as Americans, we ought to stop engaging in these foolish conversations of red versus blue. They are a waste of our time. And we ought to start taking stock and taking inventory of what is really going on objectively. Your emotions will always be involved in it, and that is okay. That is okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But you have to ask the real question. The real question isn't, do you like this person or do you like that person? The real question is, does what you're doing make sense? And does it actually help my quality of life? And does it actually help the global society, the general public? That's like the baseline. Does it make sense to me? Do I agree with it? Does it actually help the general public? And if it doesn't help who is it helping? Because I feel like we are, I hate to say, that's actually like, I don't know, that's not proper language with what I just said. It appears, not I feel like, it appears that it's easy to say, I heard someone else say in another video, they want to make this country only for millionaires and billionaires. And I'm just like, well, I don't even feel like, I feel like that's just a ridiculous hyperbole, because if you, to be a millionaire or billionaire, you have to employ somebody. Where are your employees? Where are your employees? Where they at? Where they at? Like, and if you have employees, they obviously are not other millionaires and billionaires. Like, that was just goofy. To me, that was a hyperbole to jab emotion. So I'm not gonna bash emotion, but don't be emotionally manipulated. That's another video for another time, because I hate the media. I hate the media because all they do is emotionally manipulate you. And granted, people don't make decisions based on logic. They make decisions based on emotion. I get that. Emotion is, it's part of the spice of life, like feeling things about things, feeling things about things. But I don't know, y'all. All weird, personal opinion. Let me know what you think. I'm entertaining this idea that I think America might be a slave society and nobody else. And also, I think that for political reasons too, because we've been leveraged as hitmen for other countries for a while. Like our country has been leveraged to be hitmen for other countries' issues for a while. We have an issue with Iran, and as far as I know, that really didn't, like, it has to do with us. It's our fault, but it's not our fault. We were doing this on behalf of Great Britain. But let me find a video, and I'm gonna link it. I don't really think I need to explain it unless somebody comments and says, explain why you explain. If you comment, and if one person comments and says, explain why you think that we were hitmen for Iran, I will. Because to the best of my knowledge, Iran was on the brink of becoming a democratic republic and a democratically run society, and Great Britain didn't like it, and we came in and ruined it. And we didn't come in because we cared. We came in because we were asked to. So if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I'm pretty sure I'm not, because I think I've studied that like 4 times. So anyway, just some random thoughts. I'm very much, when it comes to politics, like I said, I really think like the best thing for all Americans is to get out of red versus blue. I found myself about 2 weeks ago and during the election, like falling into the red versus blue rabbit hole. And I remembered someone told me, they were like, the way that you think about politics isn't red versus blue. And I don't think most of us think, I think many of us only think red versus blue now because that's how we're taught in America. That's, they're bad, we're good. We're good, they're bad. It's the us and them mentality. But it's neither. It's, what do you believe in? What are your principles? And that's the one thing I think most people in America can't really identify, is what are their morals, values, and principles, and what kind of society do they want to live in? Because when you look, if you actually ask yourself those questions, you will realize, like, you probably don't 100% align with either of these. You barely align with either of them at all. Because we as humans are way more dynamic. And oh my gosh, I've been talking for 20 minutes. This was not what I was supposed to do. I don't know why I started this video. I just knew I wanted to get this off my chest. Yeah. Somebody comment below and tell me if I should make political content. I mean, I'm probably going to do it anyway. But, you know, encouragement is always welcome. Have a great day, y'all. Peace.